Good morning. Welcome to Advisory Implementation Insights. I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BizTools. My apologies for the delay in starting today. We have had a technical issue with our PowerPoint slides, but I will still make a presentation to you, basically along the lines of what we had planned to discuss with you today in this very important subject of how would you go about implementing advisory services. Welcome to people who are watching this on a live feed on social media. If you have any questions relative to this presentation today, can you please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. Attracting and retaining talent, I think, is a very important feature of the whole concept of looking at the challenge confronting accountants on advisory implementation. The accountancy profession is facing significant challenges at present. The problem of attracting the correct people to enter the profession is becoming a bigger problem. These problems will directly affect the growth of accounting firms, the quality of services that you can deliver to your clients, and therefore the long-term success of SMEs in Australia. And this is now a reality, and it's impossible to ignore. The signs have been there for quite some time. But accounting firms delivering meaningful advisory services are not only building strong client relationships, they're also creating interesting and rewarding careers for younger accountants. And this will assist you to attract and retain talent. SMEs no longer want to rely on just receiving an annual set of accounts and an income tax return. That income tax return does not help you prepare advice to your clients on a whole range of issues relative to their business success. It supplies information, of course, that the business has to supply to the tax office so that they can be paying their income tax. But it's not helping in all of the other areas that are required. SMEs need guidance. They need answers to their questions. And many of them tell me that they don't ask the questions to their accountants any longer because they have got the idea that accountants are only interested in attending to the preparation of income tax returns. SMEs need someone who can help them navigate the challenges, and there's plenty of challenges out there at present. And the challenges have got worse over the last 48 hours with the Australian government budget that's been tabled for this debate in Parliament. So as far as I'm concerned, SMEs are looking for a range of services relating to financial, commercial, management accounting issues that all fall under this umbrella of advisory services. They need the same input they could have obtained if they were running a larger business and they were employing a full-time accountant or a chief financial officer. But they're not. But they should also be able to get benefits from the technology of being able to deliver services to them remotely. You don't have to be working out of the client's office to implement the daily, weekly, monthly strategy of business operations. We have to remember that most businesses operate 52 weeks of the year in Australia. Sure, some of them might only operate 45 weeks, but it's an ongoing involvement. There's problems emerging every day, and some people would say every hour. And if they were a larger business, they would have a full-time accountant on staff who would be answering a lot of the questions, who would be giving guidance to the business manager of what to do financially in certain areas, or to conduct some research into costing comparisons of different work processes, who would assist in research and development documentation so that the company was able to claim the research and development tax offset, who would assist in the implementation of appropriate debtors management control so that debtors days outstanding is kept under control. These are the services that SMEs require. And there's a real talent crisis in supplying those services, because unless you're supplying those services, I think the vast majority of accounting firms are going to have ongoing difficulties in attracting staff for work. And this is borne out by some of the information that's been made available recently. University enrolments in courses that can lead to being admitted to one of the accounting organisations has declined quite significantly. And that means the output at the other end in 4 or 5 years' time is going to reduce even further from what it is now. Fewer than 65% of advertised accounting roles are being filled, according to a former president of the Institute, David Smith. Now, I know David Smith fairly well. I've known him for 26 years, and he's a straight shooter, and he's done a lot of work in Australia as the managing director of Smith Inc. to promote this whole concept that accountants have to be aware of the commercial realities in which our SME clients are trying to run effective businesses. And one of the real problems is over 50% of SMEs are not trading at a profit, according to the Australian Small Business Ombudsman. There's 2 million small businesses. There's a lot of potential work areas there. But what do clients think about the services they are being provided? Intuit QuickBooks produced a very comprehensive SMB report 2025, which they released in August last year. And that indicated that only 15% of the SMEs who were surveyed believed that their accountant was providing a key strategic partner service. Only 15%. I think the key strategic partner status is what every accounting firm should be aiming to achieve from every business client. Not a few, but a lot. Intuit QuickBooks defined a key strategic partner as being, they are a key partner in our business and our go-to professional for advice, and they are extremely valuable to our business's growth and success. Isn't that the type of definition you would like your clients to be able to write to someone, or to confirm in a business survey, like the 500 firms who were asked to respond to the Intuit QuickBooks survey did? Wouldn't you want them to be able to indicate that your firm's supplying a key strategic partner service, rather than someone that just happened to prepare a tax return? So creating a major opportunity for accountancy firms is what is there for you to look at, because 85% of SMEs, according to that survey, are not satisfied with the level of services being supplied to them by their accountants. 85%. That creates great opportunities, even for firms who are only now thinking about expanding into advisory services. It's not as if there's only 15% of the market left for you. There's 85%, a staggering number that you can promote your services to. So what's the benefits? Well, firstly, we are concentrating on talent attraction and retention. If your firm is undertaking financial, commercial, management, accounting, advisory services to your clients, the type of services that we can help you implement at ESS BizTools from our packages that we have been preparing over the last 26 years, based on the original research done by the Financial Management Research Centre. And it's worth recapping the history. I've been around for a while, and I was a very interested participant in some of the original training that was undertaken back in about 1982, 83 at the University of New England at Armidale. Now, the Financial Management Research Centre, which was the organisation out of the university presenting business advisory training, was instigated at the request of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and the Australian Society of Accountants, now known as the CPAs. So 44 years ago, the professional bodies, the leaders of our profession, then understood that there needed to be a wider range of services offered to SMEs. And here we are, 44 years later, where a survey undertaken by a very reputable organisation is telling us that only 15% of the of the SMEs who were surveyed would agree that the top level of service was being provided. The founder of FMRC was Dr. Jeff Meredith, later becoming Professor Meredith at the Southern Cross University at Lismore. His vision was to bring a team together, and he did. Gentlemen like Andrew Geddes, Sam Beasley, and others, a group of about 6 highly qualified professionals, but professionals with some practicality to them. They weren't the normal university lecturers, academics. They understood the real world. And people like Andrew Geddes went on to have a great career in accountancy, training. I think he was the leading accountancy trainer in Australia and New Zealand. And he went on to be a very successful company director in the public company arena. He was chair for 10 years of Green Cross Limited, which was a company that he originally advised about 30 years ago, who went on to become a top 200 ASX company. They, of course, were a major chain of veterinary clinics and animal food products all over Australia and New Zealand. So he used the skills that he'd developed. At ESS BizTools, in around 1998, I negotiated with FMRC that we would use their basic concepts that they were using in training to then develop a range of product packages, written material, guidelines, videos, all put together to encourage accountants to be able to confidently deliver advisory services to clients. Now, we've had a lot of evolution in that 26 years as new concepts come along. We've now got a fully fledged research and development project, which I'm going to come back to because there's some items in the federal budget that was announced 2 days ago that I think should be of great concern to accountants who are really concerned about what's happening to the SME market. We now have, thanks to the Liberal government in 2017, that introduced the concept that small businesses were able to raise capital direct from the public as early stage innovation companies and crowdsource funding equity raising companies. Now, I don't think enough work's been done by the accountancy firms around Australia to promote that this opportunity is available. And we will be talking about this more so in our new campaign of services for accountants, which starts in 10 days' time, where we're going to look at the cash flow, the cash issues of businesses. And one of the key things is there is an opportunity for well-run businesses, businesses with a vision, to be able to raise capital from the market, raise up to $5 million in 12 months. Now, they're going to have a good story to be able to raise that amount. Only 4 companies so far have raised the full $5 million in one attempt. A number of others have raised $5 million over a couple of years, which you can raise $5 million in 12 months if the crowdsourced funding intermediary agrees, and if obviously then the business case will stack up. But the average figure overall is a bit over $800,000 has been raised by hundreds of companies, most of which are still successfully trading in their businesses. And some of them have gone back to the market and raised additional funds. Now, to be honest, when crowdsourced funding was first envisaged, the projections were substantially higher. Numbers of businesses would take advantage of it. And I think one of the reasons this hasn't occurred is that the accountancy profession hasn't got behind it, because a company is not going to be able to raise capital as a crowdsourced funding equity raising company unless it has a well thought out business plan, well thought out budgets, cash flow forecasts, projected balance sheets, linked back to the business plan, an internal control system so that key performance indicators are being recorded and then analysed weekly and monthly. A board of directors structure that understands their duties and responsibilities. Now, who do you think the key person is in making all this emerge? I think it's you. It's accountants need to be involved. Most of those companies, though, will not be able to afford the cost of a full-time chief financial officer, or perhaps have the intellectual challenge for someone to be sitting there for 35, 40, 45 hours a week in that company. It's an ideal opportunity for accountancy firms to be supplying virtual chief financial officer services. That our material will enable you to be able to deliver. And accountants who are subscribing to ESS BizTools around Australia are doing this, delivering the chief financial officer services to help their clients grow and prosper. So what does all this do to talent attraction and retention? Well, I think those services I've been describing will be very attractive to young accountants, but you need to have them involved. You need to sell the message to them, and we will help you in doing that. I think you'll end up with more engaged teams, greater professional development opportunities. You will definitely have stronger client relationships because your clients will have someone within their team to be able to ask their questions, what I used to call the what-if questions. And in my professional career, I've worked on both sides of the equation. I started actually as a costing clerk in my first role as I studied accountancy. And then I worked for a chartered accountancy firm for 2 years, and then decided I wanted to see what the big end of town did. What did businesses really do that were well organised? And I joined a public company, first of all, as an area accountant. And then within a couple of years, I was promoted to chief financial officer, company secretary of a listed public company. That was an eye-opener, I can assure you. Having to come to grips with stock exchange rules, the reporting obligations, and the demands and advice from external public company directors, which we had 4 of on our board. That was a great experience. And then later on, I decided to go back and open an accounting firm. And it was when I opened the accounting firm, I become aware of the Financial Management Research Centre, because I met Dr. Jeff Meredith, who was on a scholarship supplied by the Institute of Chartered Accountants and the Australian Society of Accountants, now CPAs, to tour Australia and to promote the service that accountants needed to offer, a broader range of business services. And here it is 44 years later. The dream that Meredith had and Geddes had and Sam Beasley had, and Ian Brown was one of the other key people. He pioneered benchmarking in Australia for SMEs. So a whole range of services started that unfortunately only 15% of SMEs believe that they're getting the full value of those services. I think if you've embraced this whole concept, you will be generating higher value recurring revenue, because you'll be supplying services to your clients weekly, monthly, throughout the year, not just at the end of the year when a tax return's prepared. Are you still preparing tax returns for the 30th of June 2025 year end? I'm not trying to be overcritical when I raise this issue, but what benefit is that set of accounts or tax return, which comes in the bundle, to your clients when you deliver them to them next week? It's not helping them run their business. A lot of problems may have occurred. They may have made a mistake in how they've been marking up their products. I come across a situation many years ago when a gentleman who was a former managing director of an unlisted public company came to me after he bought a business and told me what he was going to do, and I offered our monthly accounting service. He declined. He told me he knew it all. He'd been the managing director of a public company. And I reluctantly agreed to that. And about 6 weeks later, he rang me urgently and said, "Can you come to my business very quickly, because I need to have an important meeting?" I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "I think someone's thieving from me." And when I got there and went through what was happening, I said, "Show me how you do your pricing," because the store was busy. There was people everywhere. And when I looked at it, I said, "How do you determine your prices?" And he told me he was adding what he'd been told was a good gross profit percentage to his cost price. So if he was aiming overall for a gross profit percentage of 25%, what he was doing was taking the original cost of the product and adding 25%. I said, "No, it doesn't work that way. You've got to add a different figure. You've got to add the markup. And the markup is a different terminology. And clients don't understand this. And this proved it to me. I said, "You should have been adding 33 1/3% if you wanted to average overall 25%. And he said, "Oh." And we argued a bit. And in the end, he agreed. I said, "Hasn't anyone said anything to you? You've been here for 6 weeks. When did you start doing this pricing?" He said, "Oh, virtually from day one." And he said, "Oh, the shop filled up." And I thought, this is great. I said, "Well, you were doing it wrong. And that's why your shop's full. People know you're selling products at very low prices. The customer's not going to query why you're being generous. They think you're getting subsidy from somewhere else or whatever." And he then looked at me and said, "When I was in the public company, I had 2 full-time accountants working for me, and they used to do all that. I thought I understood it all. I think I better sign up for your monthly accounting process. So we sit down every month and analyse these figures." How many of your clients might be doing the same thing? Is this the reason the Ombudsman's saying 50% of SMEs are trading at a loss? I suspect there'll be some people there who do not understand the processes. MYOB's CEO wrote a very interesting article that was published in the Financial Review a bit over 2 1/4 years ago. in which they reported on an analysis of 1,000 new subscribers to MYOB. What had happened in their first 12 months in business. And he reported that a significant number of them had not understood what they had to do with suppliers when they went to open an account. They didn't make any inquiries. They'd done their budgets, and I hope an accountant didn't prepare their budgets for them, because this was a fundamental mistake. These people, according to MYOB, had assumed that suppliers would give them at least a 30-day payment account. And they got a significant shock when they placed their order, and it might have been for $24,000 worth of goods, and the computer or the person on the end of the phone says, well, please transfer that amount, $24,000, to this bank account, and we will process your order. And they said, no, I want a credit account. I'm a businessman. I want a credit account. And the answer was, oh, no, you have to prove your credibility to us. Make sure you pay your accounts on time. And that dramatically affected their cash flow forecast. Another group that MYOB highlighted was people who assumed that anyone that asked for credit had an entitlement to get credit sales. And that's not right either, is it? So they were giving credit to people who were probably not of the highest risk category. And the other big problem with debtors was a misunderstanding of the need to emphasize that payments have to be made within, and we assume it's 30-day terms, they were offering 30 days of the tax invoice, not of the statement, because their debtors' days outstanding had climbed up. And what was the outcome of all this, according to MYOB? After 6 months, these people ran into financial difficulties because they miscalculated their cash flow based on the requirement for suppliers to be paid upfront. They had given credit to some doubtful people who, unfortunately, had not made their payments on time. But their debtors' days outstanding was sitting at some other figure, might have been 50 to 60 days. And that also affected their cash flow because they'd assumed everyone, as a good citizen, would be paying them in 30 days. Now, these are the sort of issues that, as a profession, of accountants advising SMEs, not even thinking of tax, that we should be concentrating on making sure new people going into business, because every year there's a whole group of new people go into business, isn't there? Sometimes I'm a little bit surprised. So this will create a clear differentiation in the marketplace for your firm, that you're conscious of these issues, that your younger accountants are being introduced to these concepts of offering real accounting services. And they'll be working in a workplace where they are genuinely helping businesses to succeed. So all this starts with one client. You don't have to go out and get 100 clients and say, we're going to offer you advisory services next week. That's definitely not what we're suggesting. We say, let's start with one client. Have a conversation with them. Determine what they might be interested in. It might be a debtors management system. It might be that they're contemplating undertaking research and development activities. It might be that they're looking at their cash flow and wanting changes and have heard about this thing called crowdsourced funding equity raising. What can we do for them? Out of that, you'll get one insight so you can then see one measurable result. And then next week, you might pick up another client, or it might be 2 weeks before you start expanding. What you will need to do, though, is to cultivate some champions, people within your team who are able to answer questions and guide your SME clients. So the product champions are very important in this overall process. Now, we can help you through our training and our coaching, because out of all this comes confidence that your team understand what is required and you'll be able to develop great services. ESS BizTools supplies a complete package of services relating to financial, commercial, management, accounting services to assist SMEs. We have three main packages. The starter package helps you, if you're just starting on this journey of giving advisory services. We'll start with the starter package. You can upgrade at any time. And if you're a bookkeeping firm looking at going into advisory services and have had no real experience in it, this is the product for you to start with. Then we have the advanced package, which is looking at more things in more detail. About an extra 20 packages are included. So everything in the starter package rolls over into the advanced, and then there's more material introduced. And then we got the financial forecasting package, which is our overall package, includes everything from the advanced package and the starter package and additional material relating to the real delivery of Chief Financial Officer services. Your investment. You can get started on the starter package for $659 for 12 months, $659. You will definitely get a return on investment on all of our subscriptions if you get started and talk to clients, promote, and we will help you. We give you promotions every week that you can send to your clients to make them aware that you can deliver advisory services. Because I consult to a lot of SMEs. I was involved in an Australian government program called COMET, Commercialising Emerging Technology, from 2001 to 2013. And I had to talk to people who had applied to Oz Industry, that's who was the funder, the government department, to talk to the people that their officers had identified, and others come from my own promotions, talking to accountants, promoting to accountants in the area that I had in Australia. There were only 12 of us in Australia working on this program, and we were very successful. We found people who needed assistance to be able to get them investment ready, to teach them how to talk to a group of investors, whether it was business angel groups or wider groups, and to raise capital. And all we had then was Section 708 of the Corporations Act. We didn't have crowdsourced funding, and we didn't have early stage innovation company. But when I talk to a lot of these people, I'd say to them, who are your accountants? Well, what do you want to know that for? Well, I'd like to know what sort of support they're going to give you. Oh, no, they only do our tax return. They're only interested in doing a tax return. They don't want to do any other work. Oh, I talked to them one day. One guy said to me about research and development, and he said the accountant threw his arms in the air and said, no, I'm not a scientist or an engineer. I can't help you with research and development. I said, what utter rot, to the client. The accountant's not going to do the research activities. You are. You're the client. You're going to do them, or you hire people who can do them. The accountant's role, I think, is more as an internal auditor. It's to make sure that the records are kept right, and you can reconcile that each month, to track that process through. The financial forecasting package costs you $2,199 for the year, and that gives you a wide range of services to help you really implement these services. And we will help you. We supply you a monthly newsletter, which you badge and send to your clients. It's got somewhere between 4 to 6 articles targeted at SMEs and the different categories of SMEs. And we've got 8 different categories of SMEs in mind. And we make sure that over the year, when we write somewhere between 70 and 90 articles in Business Plus, that we've covered those 8 categories so that people are getting information. And the call to action is for those clients to ring the accountant who's badged our material and sent it out. Doesn't say anything about ESS BizTools, because we want it to appear that it's come from your firm to them. And they contact you, and then you start following through and start talking and getting feedback from the client of what they're looking for. So that's the challenges for accountants. Another big challenge, I think, is to seriously look at some of the fine print in the federal government budget that was brought down 2 nights ago. I think there's a lot of issues in there, and some of them have been well publicised, and obviously the negative gearing and the capital gains tax issues talk about Politicians walking back on what they promised, even if he promised it 50 times. I think it's really calling into question the ethics of these people. And we also have the changes they're proposing in discretionary trusts. There seems to be no appreciation of the work ethics required within running businesses, successful businesses, having them grow. But the other big item that you might not have noticed concerns one of my pet subjects, research and development. Because the government is proposing in the budget that the minimum research and development expenditure that has to be undertaken by a company will now be $50,000 in the financial year, whereas currently it's $20,000. I don't agree with it increasing from $20,000. A lot of small businesses start on research and development, and they need to see a target. Quite frankly, if they get started, they do spend $20,000 fairly quickly. But telling them they've got to spend $50,000 will deter some of them starting. And if there's one thing Australia needs is more research and development to find new strategies, new ways of doing things to help our overall businesses. And if it's successful, obviously, it will be very beneficial to that firm that's inventing the process. The other item that I'm concerned about is that the government is saying that they want this expenditure, the minimum threshold, with research activities valued below this amount. So that seems to be saying the threshold's over $50,000, but if you want to do less than $50,000, you have to use a registered research service provider or a cooperative research centre. I don't think that's practical in Australia. I live in a regional area, and I don't know if either of those types of contractors are available in regional or country areas around Australia. And a lot of this research starts in factories on the floor. Your challenge is to make sure the client gets the records set up from day one, and this is part of the communication, and we will help you do that so that that time, that expenditure is being tracked and recorded. The 20,000 or 50,000 is not just one project. The client could run 6 projects, 10 projects, as long as they're recording the details. So it's a matter of making sure the documentation's being kept. I think you can all help on this. We also have a promotion at present for 2 of our affiliates that we're working very closely with. The first one is Tax Fitness, run by Darren Gleeson, based in Perth, Western Australia. They have a very interesting product to help you on your annual accounts taxation issues. It's part of Tax Fitness. But they also have a benchmarking comparison, which compares against the top 20% of 400 different industry categories. Now, that's a great product. I mentioned earlier that Financial Management Research Centre produced the first benchmarking report for SMEs in Australia. And as far as I know, that compares the averages in a business. I like the idea that Darren Gleeson has developed that within Tax Fitness of comparing to the top 20%. So you can get access to that product. It's been reduced from $1,200 plus GST to $1,000 plus GST. And you also receive for 12 months access to the ESS BizTools starter package. So it's a great package, which we've done jointly with Tax Fitness. And you apply by going to our website, click on packages and pricing, and click on Tax Fitness, and you'll be able to read the details. And the other one is from the Boss Factor Library, which is run by my long-term colleague, Trevor Marchant, and his wife. And we are looking at a subscription to the Boss Factor Library. The library, great articles, over 100 different articles that you can read and analyse within your firm or send to your clients. That will cost $70 per month plus GST. And if you subscribe for the coaching mentoring program for accountants, which is really training your team or yourself to sell accounting services, here's a cost of $1,200 plus GST per person. That covers for the year. Now, if you subscribe to both of those on our website, same thing, you go into packages and pricing, click on the Boss Factor Library, and then you can subscribe. You will also receive 12 months access to the ESS BizTools Starter Package. If you've got any questions on any matter you think you'd like more details on than what I've discussed today, please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. Have a great day. And once again, my apologies that we did not have the PowerPoint slides for today. I hope you are able to follow the overall presentation. And if you would like the PowerPoint slides, send me an email. They will be available later today. Our technical issue is just about solved, I'm told. So we would be able to present them to you. Stay safe. Have a great day. Goodbye.